Good afternoon, and welcome to the 10th anniversary of the IPG Inclusion Awards. Please be seated and get ready to enjoy our 2018 salute to successful diversity and inclusion programs at IPG. Now let's give a warm welcome to Michael Roth, Chairman and CEO of the Interpublic Group.
Put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what y'all trying to do?
I have nothing to do with picking the music that they... Hello, welcome. It's pretty exciting, our 10th anniversary. And I can't help but think 10 years ago when we embarked on this, it was a smaller group. It was a narrower agenda. It actually started with the Merge Awards, and it's morphed into something much bigger, better, but we still have work to do, which is part of what this meeting is all about. First of all, it's about celebrating our award winners for what they've done. I always love staying and watching all the work and the things that we're capable of delivering in terms of messaging, and for such a great cause, if you will, and messaging that we bring to the table. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was trying to think about what am I going to talk about here. And I always like to talk about what's going on at IPG, because I don't get to speak to 250 of our people that often directly. So let me spend a little time talking about our company and where we are and how it ties into what these awards, and more importantly, what these initiatives are all about. You know, financially, we just came through one of the best quarters we've had in years. So first of all, thank all of you. And what's amazing about it, and you know, we're talking to our investors right now, and the first question that they ask is, why are you guys doing so much better than everyone else? Which is an interesting question to get from your investors, you know, instead of giving us a high five and, you know, and saying, boy, you're really doing great, because we actually outperformed all of our competitors in a big way. And if you look at our total shareholder return, you know, it's a measurement. We've outperformed them for on a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6-year basis, consistently. And it's interesting when an investor asks that question. And I'll tell you what our response is and what my response is. And aside from we're better than they are, okay, obviously that's the first response. But the real response is that who we are as a company. And the way I articulated it is very simple. We want to be a company that clients want to work with, that is focused on their businesses and helping them grow their businesses. And more importantly, we want to be a company where people want to work at, come to work every day, do what they love, have the opportunity to contribute, and be recognized for what they do and who they are, as opposed to anything else. And what's amazing is consistently when we talk to our people, or I talk to our people who have come from other companies, we just had an example of it yesterday. We had an individual who just came from another holding company to us, and what a great introduction to us. It was their operating review meeting, okay? Always a pleasant meeting for everyone to have. And I caught up with him later on, and I said, all right, so you're here a week or 2 weeks. Give me a perspective. He said, well, you don't understand how the difference already for the 2 weeks that I'm here compared to what it is at his former holding company, and he's been at other holding companies. The difference is palpable. And the reason for it is the collaboration, the quality of the people, and the recognition for people and who they are and what they contribute. And it's not an accident that we are where we are. because early on, when we recognized the importance of diversity and inclusion as a business proposition, we wanted to make it part of the core DNA of our company. And therefore, the birth of all the programs and the accountability that we have in our company was started. And we're seeing the results of that in terms of the quality of our people and the quality of our work and the relationships with our clients. I can't tell you how proud I am when I talk to a number of our multinational clients, especially, for example, at our breakfast in Cannes. And one of our big clients comes over to me and he says, "You guys own this space. You just own this space." You know, from a marketer's point of view, which is how he was looking at it, owning the space is great. But what it means to me and all of us, it's a recognition of what we're doing together. And it's these kind of programs that we're going to celebrate today that foster that type of collaboration and recognition of recognizing people for who they are. And candidly, our competitors don't do it. They don't view it as a core part of the DNA of their organization. And we did. And we continue to do it. And the progress we're making is remarkable. If you look at the numbers, and we're one of the few companies that actually now keep track of the numbers. You know, initially we weren't even doing that. We're making great progress. Certainly on the women's initiative part, 42% of our senior managers are female, which is great progress. We have more to go. And 25% of our people are non-white individuals in terms of senior positions. Now, that sounds like a low number, and it is. But what you think of where that number was before, it's tremendous progress. And when you compare our numbers to our competitors, it's not even close. But it does indicate we have a lot of work to do. And so what I wanted to share with you some observations that I'm feeling right now, just, you know, when you wake up in the morning and you see what's going on in our country and in the world, and just in the last few days, what you're seeing. And it's kind of eye-opening when you think about it. And, you know, we're doing a great job. Our numbers are great. We have accountability, and Haida accosted me in the elevator the other day, and as she does. And she says to me, you know, we always talk about how we hold our business leaders accountable for diversity. So we're the only holding company that keeps our business leaders accountable for improvements in diversity and inclusion. That's an amazing statement in and of itself, by the way. But she says to me, you know, people are thinking that the reason we're doing well is because they're getting paid for it. And that sort of opened my eyes to something. Yeah, you know, there's a reason, and people are accountable, and they want to make sure they perform. But the real reason we should be doing this is because of the business imperative that comes with it. And what I'm seeing on the news every day is not the, quote, business imperative. What I'm seeing is discussions on tokenism and hiring people just for the sake of saying you have a diverse individual. And the question is, have we made the jump from measurement and performance and having people in positions, and have we really assimilated the diverse population we have into the work and our environment? And I think, frankly, in a lot of cases, that's not the case. And to be realistic about it, many times when we go on pitches and we meet with clients and they're insisting upon us that we have a diverse team, what do? We run around and find diverse people, we put them in a room, and we bring them into the meeting, right? The question is, are they part of the team? So what I want to focus on, I don't want it to be a downer. Everyone's looking at me and say, oh my God. But I'm just making some observations. What's scaring me right now is a lot of it is ringing very true to everybody in this room. But it probably is. And I think what we have to do now is take that next step. And that is not just have numbers, have teams, and value the contributions that a diverse organization brings to the work environment, the reputation of our company, and all the reasons we value our company in terms of coming to work. And I think that is the stage we're in now. We have all the measurements. We have the accountability. Now we really have to bring it to life. And that's not saying we're not doing it. I'm just saying we have to do better at it and make it really part of the everyday work that we do. And that's the opportunity, because if you look at all the performance levels of companies, diverse organizations perform better than non-diverse organizations. And the reason for it is because they're getting insights and they're sharing values that are relevant to the consumers that are out there. And that's what we have to do, is develop those messages for the consumers on behalf of our clients. And we have to represent the consumers in thought and values. And that's the value of a diverse organization, to get those insights. But use those insights. Don't just say we have a diverse group and here they are. Use the insights, put them to work. So that's my message for the day. I know it's uplifting. But one of the things we are doing as a company, and it goes to our strength, and that is our ability to create messaging in the marketplace, is that we've partnered with the UN on the Unstereotype program, which is a part of the UN, UN Women. And we've partnered with them, myself, Keith Weed from Unilever, and Fiona from AT&T. We're vice chairs of this. But our objective is to focus on the work that we develop and on behalf of our clients, and how people are portrayed in the work. Because that's where the messaging is. That's how people's perception of individuals come through. They see it in commercials and messaging, and it carries through to their perception of who these people are and what they stand for. And that's where we add significant value in making sure that we're not stereotyping individuals in the work that we deliver. Because a little child, someone young, is looking at this, and that's their perception of who these people are. And we have to do something about that. So we embarked on working with the UN. It's a tremendous program. We asked MullenLowe to help us develop a campaign, which will be shared with you in a while. But these are the kind of things we're doing as a company to take the diversity and inclusion messaging to the next level. Now, I don't want to leave you with, down a G, we're not doing, we're doing amazing. It's out there in the marketplace. Clients respect us for it. When a client tells you you own this space, in his weird way, that's a compliment. But we do own the space. The question is, what do we do with it? And how do we feel about it? And how we bring it to life. So the challenge is, look at the great programs that we're celebrating today. Congratulations to all the winners. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the work. And let's take this to the next level. Because we've already shown our industry that IPG and all the companies that make up IPG know how to make a difference. And let's carry that out there and really show what it really means to have diversity and inclusion as part of our DNA. So with that message and your task, if you will, I'm thrilled to introduce Kaziwe Dlamini. Did I do that right? Close enough. Okay. You know, I never. That was the most difficult part of what I was going to say. Actually, I was standing up here worried about having to pronounce her name. I'm not worried about what I was going to talk about, but I was worried about her name. But I never had the opportunity to introduce. Now, her name stands for the chosen one. Is that correct? Okay. So I never had an opportunity to introduce the chosen one before. So without further ado, the chosen one.
Thank you very much, Michael. You need not have worried. I take any mispronunciation of my name as long as I recognize that it's an attempt to say my name. I'm good. And chosen one is the safe option. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, along with my colleague Jennifer Cooper, whom I'd like to stand, please, and say hi. Jennifer is managing the program that Michael talked about, the Unstereotype Alliance, which I'll say a little about. But before I say anything, I'd like to just say how beautiful you look as a group. I was just watching the view. Bridget was trying to move me somewhere else. She was the welcoming party for us. And I'm like, please leave me alone. I'm just enjoying the view. Because I felt so comfortable with this group. So as you know, the United Nations is literally that. It's a concept where all countries and all nations of the world unite around peace, prosperity, and a lasting planet. And you look like the United Nations. So first, thanks to both Michael and Heide. We are here because of them, and we love them very much. We've developed this friendship through the Unstereotype Alliance, and we're hoping to expand the friendship to all of you. But I want to congratulate you for this Inclusion Awards. I believe it's the 10th year of the award, and it's moving from strength to strength. I really enjoyed reading the profiles of the awardees. As UN Women, we're not even 10 years old yet, so the awards are older than us. We were established in 2010. But the diversity and inclusion is very close to our hearts as an ideal, because our mission, as you would have guessed from the title of our organizational name, is focused on gender equality, gender diversity. And the means by which we try and help the world achieve that is women's empowerment. And the reason we focused on women's empowerment is that women are the ones being left behind. And actually, the fact that women are being left behind is a cost to business. There is significant research done that shows that gender parity at management and at other levels of an organization can result in 30% plus increase in bottom line. You also can have a lot more talent if you're not ignoring half of the population of the world. And the numbers are looking pretty bad, despite our efforts. In the business sector at large, just 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. Black women fare even worse, just 1.5 representation. So one of the things we focus on under the Stereotype Alliance is that gender discrimination and gender diversity is not only about gender. It's about all the other things that we use as human beings to discriminate against one another and lose the value that we can bring as a full humanity that way. But there is hope. We are changing. And what is changing is what is normal. So, for instance, Me Too is changing the whole idea of it being normal to not keep your body parts to yourself. But UN Women is a bit more than a hashtag. We were actually established to partner with governments, business, communities, so that we could find the collective power to effect the change that we want to see as humanity, and make sure that all people, whatever religion, whatever color, whatever part of the world, whatever money is in their pocket, would be able to enjoy the human right and potential without discrimination. So one of the ways we're making this vision a reality is the Unstereotype Alliance. Apart from the leadership, which Michael went through, we also have 30 powerful members in the world of advertising, all gathered together, forgetting their competitive natures and trying to make sure that they eradicate the world of harmful gender-based stereotypes in advertising. Not only do stereotypes do harm in terms of making people feel less than, they are costly to the business, and I've already shared with you some of the statistics that we have. But the biggest challenge around stereotypes is that they become normalized. And once they are normalized, they become invisible. And you can't address what you cannot see. So the little film that Michael talked about, that IPG led the production of on behalf of the Alliance, has the title, "The Problem is Not Seeing the Problem." And we can start it, please.
My name is Ben, and I'll be playing Useless Dad.
Receptionist.
Mother.
Mother.
Corner shop man.
Can you do it in an Indian accent?
Full shebang. He wants the paper as well, huh? No? Why not?
Mr. Jones's office. Hello.
90. Okay, yeah. Quick wash.
We've got pink sheets. Hair model.
Can you be a bit happier? Back a bit. Happier than that? Further.
I'm right by the wall.
Perfect.
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
I get called in to do sexy dancer type roles, but actually I trained at the Royal Ballet School and I'm a classically trained ballerina.
Maids, mothers, cleaners, hair, beauty, pretty girl, someone's girlfriend.
3 accountants, a drowning man.
I'm never the hero. I'm always sort of handing the hero a note.
I wish I could get the funny roles because I could do them.
Normally it's about my face, my hair and my body.
I never get to speak. I want to be able to speak.
I'm a fabulous, awesome black woman. I've never played a role like that.
Thank you, Haida. She was our fearless leader in producing that clip, and only she can tell you what she went through. It was done in a few weeks ahead of Cannes. But just to say congratulations once again on this event, the program, and most importantly, in advance, congratulate all those who will receive the awards, because this is the type of collective action that will really create this new world that we are dreaming of as a humanity, that is called the 2030 Agenda, and it has 17 goals. But it's all about having a peaceful, prosperous, lasting planet, which is also, by the way, very good for the bottom line. Thank you.
Haida Gardner, Senior Vice President, Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, IPG.
Y'all say, hell yeah!
Thank you all, and thank you for coming. And Kitsewe, having the opportunity to work with you and Jennifer and the amazing clients that we're working with who are driven actually to find a way to express their brand purpose in the communications that we do for them. And what you could see from that film is that at the heart of what we're trying to do is change stories, right? The stories that we tell. But more than that, the stories that our work changes in the people we reach. I mean, think about it. You know, we tell stories about health, right? And the stories that people walk away with are how they improve their health, right? How about we change their stories so they can find a hookup, you know, or they can get a better deal. They can feel better about themselves. So in the end, our work is about changing stories. And that, and it's also, when you think about clients' brand purposes, it's also very much so about changing the well-being of their customers and changing the well-being of societies, right? And all of that connects to what we're trying to do with diversity and inclusion. So, and I say that because what we're actually doing is changing our stories as agencies, right? The stories of how we do our work, the stories of the people who work for us. And we're changing that by changing the people who work for us, you know, and incorporating things like purpose and well-being into what we do every day. So the Unstereotype Alliance is this incredible opportunity for us to rally around purpose and well-being in all that we do. So that's just one of the reasons that this has been an honor. You know, this whole program is really about stories. And it started with Michael's story about why, you know, we're outperforming the competition. And, you know, many companies, when they're not in a good place, cut resources in the D&I space, you know. And when Michael came aboard along with Frank and Philippe, we were not in a good place. I mean, there were questions about whether or not we were even going to be here at all when you came along. I remember when our stock was $2 a share. I don't know if any of you all remember that, but And today, look at where we are. And I'm so proud that diversity and inclusion are really a part of our story, and that you tell it all the time, and you tell it, when you're doing your calls with the analysts, and we're evidence that it works. So we're also in this telling stories about what has changed. So every award that we're going to celebrate is about how something changed, whether it's changing the lives of consumers, changing the makeup of the story of how we became more inclusive internally, and about how our overall stories, the narratives of our agencies changed. So this is a celebration, beginning and ending with stories. And we're really thrilled that we have a master storyteller with us today, who can help us better shape the stories of our people and the world through helping us to learn more about people who aren't like us. In order for us to turn the narratives of our people around, we have to understand them. And at IPG, we've been doing a lot of work to better understand your stories using data. And for 10,000 people who work for IPG who said, yes, I want to stay with my agency or my organization, the number one response was, the number one reason was because I feel I belong. They all had that in common. But the reasons that people feel they belong are different. They're entirely different. And the only way that we're going to be sure that everyone feels that they belong and that the work we do for our clients, shapes a world where everyone belongs is by understanding the stories and the backstories, the historical stories of people who are different.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first award recipient was so effective and impressive to the judges that it is winning our first 2 awards of the afternoon, the Community Impact Award and the award for the most effective targeted campaign. The campaign that was so effective that 2 separate sets of judges selected it for these 2 awards is Weber Shandwick's work for the LA LGBT Center. Let's take a look at the 2-time winner.
In 1981, AIDS was identified as a new disease. Since then, it's killed more than 35 million people. But we've stopped talking about HIV, and those hurt the most, minority communities. In Los Angeles, 69% of new HIV infections are among African Americans and Latinos, young gay bisexual men of color and transgender women in particular. So the LA LGBT Center turned to a prevention method called PrEP. The move was controversial because PrEP only protects against HIV and not other sexually transmitted infections. Some believe it could result in reckless sex. But frankly, people's opinions haven't always helped this community in the past. Enter Fuck Without Fear PrEP here to stop the spread of HIV in the community by generating 500 new prescriptions for PrEP. Not a big number in the mainstream, but in this niche community hardest hit by HIV, it's a huge step towards an AIDS-free future. Based on social listening across hookup apps, we acquired deep understanding of how and where the audience talks about sex. Informed by the tone and content, we created a PrEP persona on Grindr, handled by a member of the center's sexual health team, catching the geo-defined audience in the act and interacting in real time. Those interested in starting PrEP were set up with a consultation at the center. The integrated campaign included event takeovers, niche advertising, and hyper-targeted media relations.
Como West Hollywood, siglas en inglés como PrEP.
El uso de un medicamento de prevención.
We made some friends along the way, but people still had opinions. It mattered less since we beat our prescription goal by 47% in just 3 months. Even HIV icon Dr. Michael Gottlieb praised the initiative. Fuck without fear. PrEP here. A movement that's saving lives.
Here to accept the awards for community impact and most effective target campaign is Peter Gay, Executive Creative Director, Healthcare Weber Shandwick for the LA LGBT Center.
It's a super hard act to follow, by the way. So the HIV and AIDS crisis is not over. Instead, it's just attacking some of our most vulnerable communities, gay, young, Latino, minorities, and we got to do something about it. And that's why we were involved in this campaign. The LA LGBT Center wanted to be bold and throw everything away and start from scratch. And what they did and what they decided to lean into was really brave. Fuck Without Fear is just one drop in the bucket, though. There's so much that we need to do across this country. In some states, like the southern US, HIV rates are skyrocketing, and we got to do something about it. And with that, I'd like to thank the leadership at Weber Shandwick for supporting us. I'd like to thank a really brave client, the Los Angeles LGBT Center, and to teams in New York and Los Angeles for bringing this to life. Cheers. Thank you so much, IPG.
Diversity and inclusion efforts have greater impact when two things happen. One, businesses communicate their goals and commitments inside their organizations. And two, businesses work to educate their employees about the value of D&I. The award for Best Internal Communications Program goes to Campbell Ewald. Let's watch their video to better understand how internal communications efforts can lead to meaningful change in an organization.
2016, Campbell Ewald went to work on an assignment like no other in our 107-year history. Make diversity and inclusion an integral part of who we are and what we do. And like any big assignment, it was an agency-wide effort spearheaded by employees and empowered by company leadership. It began with the formation of 1CE, a cross-office, employee-led team that created programs and events dedicated to raising our cultural competence. It all helped to make Campbell Ewald a braver, safer place for all employees. But this is an assignment with no end date, no finish line, so the work continues. In 2017, we doubled down by expanding influence and putting our learnings to work. We broadened our focus to inclusion and delivering on a holistic strategy that comes to life in our hires, our culture, and our work. We debuted Pathways into Adland, an effort to attract more diverse talent, giving people from different backgrounds a chance to learn our industry, our agency, and get one-on-one career advice from team members across all disciplines. Of course, all of our work around diversity and inclusion needs to resonate beyond our halls and result in better work for our clients every day. So Talks That Lead brought employees and clients together with selected speakers for provocative, insightful, and sometimes difficult discussions that sparked actions each of us could take to bring change to our brands and our industry. Understanding cultural nuance now affects everything we do, from the brief to the concept to the execution of every idea. And through it all, we've embraced the different cultures in our communities and worked hard to be neighbors that do good for all. So we continue to work.
We continue to learn.
To be inspired. To push further and faster.
For our company.
For our clients.
Because for us, this assignment never ends.
Accepting the award for Best Internal Communications Program is Kevin Wirtz, CEO, Campbell Ewald.
Thank you all. I want to start by thanking our employees of Campbell Ewald because without you all, this program wouldn't exist. And so a lot of them are here today. And so this is a top-down, bottom-up approach, and we empower our employees to generate this programming. And so it might be folks that lead a conversation that's a difficult topic that we need to talk about in the workplace. It might be curating a book that our book club reads together, or helping organize our volunteer efforts in our community. And so without you all, this wouldn't happen. It also wouldn't happen without the rest of our employees at Campbell Ewald that choose to participate in this programming. And I say choose intentionally. We don't make this mandatory. I've talked to people before that training is bad and mandatory makes it where it feels like it's training. And so we believe if we create high quality programming, that employees will want to participate in it. It'll get them out of their comfort zone, and they'll learn and grow and learn new things about each other and different perspectives. And that's what happens at our agency, and I'm very proud of that. Over the past couple of years, we've been asked to speak at a couple of different conferences, which is nice, and meet with a couple of different businesses and their leaders and talk about, what our path has been like and what we've learned along the way and what's worked well and what hasn't worked well. And we always try to leave folks with a couple of actionable insights, and that's what I want to give to you all today, just 3 points that we sort of found successful at our shop that you can hopefully take back with you. And so the first one is that you have to get comfortable with uncomfortability. The topics we talk about here, especially around diversity and inclusion, are not normal for a lot of people to speak about. And the more comfortable you get, the more you actually learn and grow, and as people and also as a company. And the second one is that as a company, we really embrace a philosophy of progress over perfection. Our agency and our industry is made up of perfectionists, and our clients love us for that. But when it comes to diversity and inclusion, perfectionism stands in the way of progress and the speed at which we need to change as an agency and as an industry. So I encourage you to embrace progress over perfection. And then lastly, what we needed to make sure our employees believed is that when we talk about diversity and inclusion and the importance of that to us is that they see our actions more than hear our words. And so in this case, the goal that we set for ourselves is that when our employees, if they read about programming that our 1CE group does, or any of our folks that are watching online right now in one of our offices, that if they hear us speak and watch this video, that they would tell you that we didn't have enough time on the stage today to talk about half the great things we're doing at our agency. Thank you very much.
The Inclusive Talent Initiatives Award honors an IPG agency for its commitment to innovation in diversity and inclusion. Diverse talent thriving at all levels of an organization, from internships and entry level to the C-suite, results in innovation. Weber Shandwick is this year's winner for the Award of Inclusive Talent Initiatives, and this video shows us why.
At Weber Shandwick, diversity, equity, and inclusion are at the heart of what our firm is all about, and why we've been a high-performing business for many years. Diversity encompasses a wide range of backgrounds, beliefs, experiences, and perspectives, and within our firm creates a culture that influences how we think and collaborate with each other and our clients.
We have been working on diversity and inclusion for probably close to 10 years in a really concentrated way, because we understood that stakeholders were changing, that our industry was far behind where we needed to be in terms of having the people on board who represent our stakeholders. And it's important not only for that reason, but also to make sure that we are getting the best ideas possible. And if we're not looking at the widest range of people out there, then we don't know that we are bringing in the best talent. And we want to make sure we're not overlooking people who could be great contributors.
About 2 years ago, we brought a group of leaders from across the country together. The goal of the group was very simple. How do we shape the experience of diversity and inclusion at Weber Shandwick?
Before we could define and prioritize our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, we knew we had to dig down and really look at our values and what we stand for as an organization. And you'll see in the final values that 2 of them, respect and inclusion, have everything to do with how we treat each other and how we interact with our clients and the world around us.
One Weber is our diversity committee here in the New York office. We do a number of different things, from hosting spotlight sessions with our employees to actually having our senior leadership host different types of learning and education events.
We're looking at partnering with clients like Verizon AdFellows, partnerships with an organization like NYU to build out opportunities for diverse students to come into the business. I think the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion is never done, but we're about the process, we're working hard at it, we're committed to making lasting and fundamental change in the business, and I'm very proud of where we've come, and I'm very excited about where we're going.
Here to accept the award for the Inclusive Talent Initiatives is Judith Harrison, Senior Vice President, Diversity and Inclusion, Weber Shandwick.
So, at Weber Shandwick, we realized that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not an initiative, it's not a program, it's a strategic business imperative, and it is not an HR problem. It is everyone's responsibility every day. And it's something that actually makes us better. When we are able to take people with diverse backgrounds, leverage their experiences and their perspectives to create great work, to connect much more authentically with the world around us, and to exceed clients' expectations, it's a win for everybody. There's a lot of work involved, but the work is so well worth it. So, for instance, in 2017, we raised our hiring of diverse people at the EVP and above levels to 17%, from 8% in 2016. We hired 2 diverse general managers, we hired 6 diverse creatives, and we started a DEI practice. So we are very proud of our efforts in that area as well. We worked with our client Verizon and other agencies, and also with NYU to create diversity fellowships. One is Ad Fellows from Verizon, and the other is NYU Masters at Weber Shandwick. We are proud also of our diversity, equity, and inclusion committees, which put on something like 80-plus events in 2017, attended by about 600 employees across the country. And 80% of people surveyed after the events said that they were more likely to stay at Weber Shandwick because of the work that their DEI committees were doing locally. So together, we really can create more diverse, inclusive, and equitable environments in which every voice is heard, everyone feels welcome, and everyone has equal opportunity to contribute and advance. And that work is done by a great group of people, our talent acquisition and HR teams, our D&I team, our DEI leadership working group, and our DEI council, which consists of committees across the country. So we are so grateful to everyone involved for all of the work that has gone into creating this award for us. Thank you.
The Inclusion Campaign of the Year Award recognizes an agency for being an agent of change. It honors innovative, creative, and effective work meant to change the world or our industry through inclusion and equity. In 2018, we all need to know the steps necessary to enhance our businesses and our communities. For making a positive change in 2017, the Inclusion Campaign of the Year goes to FCB India for No Conditions Apply, their campaign for the Times of India. Let's see what making a difference looks like.
During the last day of Durga Puja, Bengali women smear the goddess Durga and each other with vermilion in a game called Sindoor Khela. But this 400-year-old Hindu tradition comes with a condition. No widows, no divorcees, no sex workers, no LGBTQ, because this celebration of womanhood welcomes only married women.
আমাদের এখন কোনো শুভ কাজে আমরা লাগি না।
মা দুর্গার গালে হাত লাগাতে তো কয়েকজন মহিলা মিলে বলল তুই কি মেয়ে নাকি?
This year, we set out to change that. The patriarchal symbol of marriage was turned into a symbol of sisterhood. And with these 2 powerful dots, the Times of India, No Conditions Apply, Sindoor Khela was launched in Calcutta. We joined hands with the biggest festival society and sent out invitations to widows, transgenders, and sex workers across the city. A national call to action was released through press, poster, and a hard-hitting film where the most influential Bengali women demanded acceptance through slam poetry.
আমি এই পূজোয় সিঁদুর খেলবো
But in a country of thousands of gods and even more godmen, starting a movement like this is not easy.
This is female chauvinism.
I think those women should be allowed.
But what happened was beyond imagination. The day had finally come for every woman to be a part of Sindoor Khela. Every single media covered this historic event. Bollywood joined hands. Millions poured their heart. 2-dot selfies became a rallying cry for every woman who had been left out for ages, triggering 3 million opinions, 20 million impressions. No conditions apply trended socially, erupting a national debate. We didn't just report the news, we became the news. And for the first time in a decade, surpassed the competition Telegraph. But above all, 50 temple societies opened their doors to embrace all women. And that's how a 400-year-old ritual dividing the married and the unmarried blew away like a line of fine powder.
Please welcome to the stage FCB Global Chief Creative Officer, Susan Creedle.
Thank you. I think they were going to show Swati. Do you want to run Swati? She had something to say to the group.
And now this award makes it even more special. The IPG Inclusion Award doesn't just, I mean, it's a testimony to the fact that even though it was Sindoor Khela, even though it was in Calcutta, it's touched all of us. So, to all my sisters out there, thank you.
Sindoor Khela, our campaign for the Times of India, has won over 25 awards in national and international shows this year. But this IPG Inclusion Award for the Inclusion Campaign of the Year is truly special. And that's because the core idea of our campaign was really to transform a 400-year-old tradition of division into a tradition of inclusion, a tradition of sisterhood. I'd like to thank IPG and the award jury for giving us this great, great honor. We are truly delighted.
So there's another story that I think has to do with diversity and inclusion with this piece, which is Swati. She, 2.5 years ago, she became the first female CCO in India when she joined FCB. And she was nervous. She wasn't sure she wanted to do it. She was divorced, has 2 children. She said, I don't think I can handle it. And we said, you know, Swati, she's very interested in empowering women and helping her country. And I said, if you say yes to the CCO job, just saying yes, you'll make more difference in women's lives in India than if you fall on your face. So say yes, and then let's see what happens. So she said yes, and a year later, you know, or this past year at Cannes, she and her team and her client were all on stage accepting a gold lion for this work. But what's interesting is what Heidi was saying about diversity in stories. This is Swati's story. She was in an arranged marriage and had felt excluded and not fully a female because she wasn't married. She was in the arranged marriage. She became part of this, you know, recognized as a female. Then she became divorced and was excluded. So she personally knew this story. And I was talking to the client, Sanjeev, and he said, I don't know what Swati was talking about. She just said, I got to tell this story. We've got to tell this story. It's going to be important. And he said she was so passionate about it. I was like, all right, here, let's just go do it. So she made this piece with the help of her team. And when the client, we were having dinner after the award show at Cannes, and he goes, this newspaper is committed to progress in India, and let's decide what we're going to change next year. So diversity is amazing.
A definition of the word ally is one in helpful association with another. The Inclusion Ally of the Year Award recognizes that helpful individual, the one who advocates for and supports persons in identity group or groups different from their own. The winner of the Inclusion Ally of the Year is Jeff Cruz, Chief Creative Officer, MRM McCann Detroit. Play the video.
He's my boss, but I feel like he's like this big brother, this virtuoso of humanity that he understands at all levels. Really helps me do a better job and feel good about what I'm doing.
I know Jeff isn't going to want to talk about this. He's usually so quiet.
There is absolutely nobody more passionate and involved in diversity and inclusion within MRM more than Jeff Cruz.
Jeff led and championed the cause for Sikya, which is an organization that helps empower girls in India through education and mentorship.
He didn't flinch at all when I suggested, hey, let's give all the women the day off on International Women's Day.
It was never a question of why are we doing it, it was just how great can we make it.
He has passed the torch to me to become the first female chair of the D Council.
He knows that diverse backgrounds, having different life experiences is what's going to make our work the best creative it could possibly be.
I get the pleasure to work shoulder by shoulder with Jeff, day in and day out. I wouldn't change it for the world. Heart to Jeff Cruz.
He really does know that equality takes everyone.
Thank you for caring, and thank you for pushing forward what you believe to be right.
He's someone who truly cares.
Cruz all the way.
Jeff, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for setting such a great example for our kids.
Thank you, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
I love you, Dad.
Here to accept the award for the Inclusion Ally of the Year is Jeff Cruz, Chief Creative Officer, MRM McCann Detroit.
Hi. Fergie once proclaimed that big girls don't cry. Apparently, the same could never be said about silver-bearded CCOs, because I've seen that video a bazillion times, and every time it just wrecks me. So I'm the guy who just did a Fergie reset for y'all, so you're welcome. But all kidding and levity aside, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am truly honored and humbled to accept this award on behalf of MRM McCann Detroit. Because while it's my name up there, excuse me, and my name on the award, this is a team win. This is a win for all of us. So I gotta give a shout out to my Detroit players who are live streaming in the middle of the day to watch this. I'm just kind of blown away by the whole thing, to be quite frankly. I lost my train of thought. Stupid video. I knew that video was going to wreck me. It's interesting because when I think about it and I really ponder about it, the only way you can be an ally or even an ally of the year is if you are surrounded by interesting and inspiring people. People who understand and quite frankly will challenge you to further appreciate, foster, and grow diversity day in and day out. And that's what happens, what we like to believe in Detroit. You know, it's interesting because at MRM McCann, we have 6 important things we believe. And one of them, it's our go-to all the time, it's one of my all-time faves, is better together. And I would like to believe that this award, for all of us, is testament to the fact that we are living, breathing, and acting upon diversity each and every day. Thank you.
Please welcome Frank Mergenthaler, Global CFO, IPG, and Chairman, CMG.
Thank you. First, I want to congratulate Haida, wherever she went. 10 years ago, this was our vision, and look at us now. We've gone from, to Michael's point, a very small group to now 300 plus people being plugged in on the web. Just tremendous examples of how far we've come. I also made some fun of Haida last year, and she gave me a 3-page talking point script to introduce one award. And I kind of called her out and said, Haida, I'm not very good with scripts, so why don't we just throw that aside? So I wasn't expecting to see much this year. And lo and behold, 2 days ago, I get 3 pages from Haida. But it's a little different this year. You've got you should probably say this in the normal dark font. In the green font, it's, you should really say this. And red is, read this. So hopefully, Haida, I won't screw it up. I've been asked to present the Inclusive Leadership Award. Just a couple things on leadership. As Michael had mentioned, we've made a lot of progress in making IPG an inclusive workplace. With that said, there's still a ton of work to be done, and we'll never be finished, right? So all of us in this room, all of us in this organization, we have to lean in and be leaders to continue to make progress. And there's one group I want to call out today and recognize, and that's the leaders and the participants of the merge groups. These are folks that have day jobs, have families, have pitches, have deadlines, yet in the past year, they did 50 separate events with over 8,000 participants. So they are making a real difference in our initiative around diversity and inclusion. So I'd like to personally thank them as I get a chance to work with them. And I'd ask anybody in here who has not participated in an event, lean in, show your support, be active, because they could need the help. So with that, I think there's a film around the merge.
Gonna keep on trying till I reach my highest ground. Till I reach my highest ground. No one's gonna bring me down. Oh no. Till I reach my highest
And thanks again for those very special people for the time you dedicate to the special or this important initiative. Now for the Inclusive Leadership Award. We're proud of all of our award winners, but I'm especially proud in Weber Shandwick. I get to work with these folks on a regular basis with my role at CMG. Clearly, it's a special agency, and clearly D&I is part of their DNA, as you saw in the film and Judith's wonderful comments. It's an agency that's used to winning awards. They've been PR Week's Global Agency of the Year the last 4 years in a row. But knowing Andy and Jack and Judith and Sarah and Gail, I think that the awards today, and there are 4 of them, in case you weren't counting, is pretty special. So I congratulate the Weber Shandwick folks, and accepting the award is Emil Hill. And I think there is a video.
It's terrific when an award really speaks to what a person stands for and what that person is all about. And inclusive leadership is what Emil is all about.
He's one of those leaders who actually models and lives by example.
He's bringing his leadership of inclusion and diversity in everything he touches and everything he does.
His greatest contribution as a leader is the way that he enables others to emerge and develop as leaders.
He's invested in people, and he wants to see them succeed.
I've always been impressed by how he has given younger people great responsibility, but always served as their safety net.
He made sure to let me know that he was interested in me as a person. He gave me advice on how to advance in the company. That sort of mentorship really impacts retention when it comes to keeping diverse talent within our company.
Diversity, equity, inclusion is really at the center of Weber Shandwick's culture.
It means considering the points of view of everybody and the diverse backgrounds of everyone and bringing everyone to the table.
And at the center of any conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion at Weber Shandwick, you're going to find Emil Hill.
You see it in the work that Emil does, the really groundbreaking groundbreaking work we've done for the Kellogg Foundation and the community building work that we're doing for the U.S. Army.
Emil Hill really is our North Star in terms of galvanizing our efforts around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's true certainly from an internal perspective, but also in terms of engaging with communities.
You can see it every day in the kinds of organizations he gets involved in, the ways he volunteers his own time without being asked.
He gives his all. You'll never catch him giving 50%.
Emil is passionate.
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 Infectious.
Committed.
Connected.
Deliberate.
Dapper.
Fearless.
Congratulations, Emil, on all of your success.
Congrats, Emil.
Congratulations, Emil.
Thank you, Emil, for making us better.
Congratulations, Emil.
Congratulations, Emil, on this really extraordinary recognition.
Congrats, Emil.
Wow. So first, I'm honored and obviously quite humbled to see a video like that and to be honored before my peers, knowing that it's an incredibly talented group of people, and to be singled out amongst all of these people across the country is really amazing. So I'm humbled by that, and thank you very much for the honor. First, I'd be remiss not to thank Michael Roth and Heidi Gardner for creating the conditions across organizations to make diverse, inclusive, and equitable leadership a business imperative for all of us. IPG and all its companies really set the standard, and I believe that's why we've been so profitable for all of these years. We attract and insist that we have an inclusive workplace, and to really make that a pillar and tie financial success to that is really setting the standard and important. Now, I believe working for thoughtful and open, inclusive leaders like Andy, like Gail, like Jack, like Leslie, Sarah Gavin, Randy Cooper, Pam Jenkins, and now Paul, but people like Judith and Tamika who really help ensure that the rubber meets the road is why people like me are able to stand up here and demonstrate that important leadership. Doing good, profitable work has always been job one. But as you know, there's always a wide range of other issues that have to be considered when people are your most important asset and really at the center of what we're selling every day. Inclusivity requires constant and deliberate action. I try to ensure that the teams that I work with represent a wide range of experiences, have a diverse background and life experiences, and in thought. I found that outcome is not only better for clients, but is better for our colleagues. People want to bring their whole selves to work every single day, and I believe that if you're purposeful and thoughtful about that, you can ensure that happens. You spend more time at work every single day than you do with your families, you do with your friends, and why not insist and make that an important part of your job every single day? And that's easy, and I think that can only happen in a place like Weber Shandwick and a place like IPG, and I hope to continue that tradition. Look, I'd be remiss not to say that my inclination to support community, young people, and colleagues was all my own. In fact, it was baked into my conscience by my parents, Joe and Marion Hill, a very long time ago. Both of my parents were actively involved in the communities they served as coaches, chauffeurs to all the kids in the neighborhood, tutors, counselors, and disciplinarians when appropriate. In fact, I got to hear all about my dad's work as a manager and my mother's work as a social worker and how they helped their own peers navigate the labyrinth of various work environments. And I gleaned a couple of very important lessons along the way. Service to people was the rent you pay for all of your personal and professional success. Nobody gets or maintains any degree of success alone. We all need help. As a person of color who has broken ground, garnered any unique understanding or expertise, I was obligated to reach one and teach one. All those factors ensure that the next generation, perhaps my own kids should I have any, certainly my siblings, my colleagues and people that I mentor day to day, can do better. And the measure of my success is them doing better. So let me thank everyone else who was nominated for this award. And with an eye, and anybody that's in eyeshot looking and in earshot hearing, thanks you for your commitment to inclusive leadership. And I look forward to seeing you in the many years to come. Thanks.
Please welcome Philippe Gurkowski, Executive Vice President, Chief Strategy and Talent Officer, IPG, and Chairman and CEO of IPG Media Brands.
Folks, so like Frank, I've got the authorized remarks that I have to read, and then unlike Emil, I'm very old school, so I wrote a few things that I haven't run by anybody that I'll hold for last. We talk a lot about leadership at this award show, and it's something that we look forward to seeing you all here. And over the years, it's been great to see more and more of our senior people actually understand that it's important that you all be here. And so one of the things we wanted to do, given something that's happened in the year since we all got together, is I remember seeing Susan up here, having a call with Susan and Haida and Devika before Time's Up advertising actually became something that raised its hand and came into the public domain. And then I also remember after the pledge came out, really being excited at how many. I called Tom Cunningham, and it was like a third of the people on there are our colleagues, and we need to get out there and tell the story about how important that is to us, how proud we are of that. So the first thing we thought we would just do is for any of the Time's Up advertising leaders who are here, could we just ask you to stand? Because we'd kind of like to give you all a hand. Hi, Peter. So I'm not sure why I get 2 awards, but I get 2 awards. So the first one is about measurable inclusion. And what that means is that it's not about what a management team thinks they're doing or even about how we think they're doing. It's sort of based on feedback from within the organizations on all these key measures around inclusion. And what they tell us is, are leaders participating in these programs? Is communication getting out there regularly around these programs? Is the workplace safe? Are people treated, in ways that are respectful and that value all the things that we've been talking about today, which is just all of the dimensions of diversity that we're increasingly aware are things that we need to acknowledge and honor, right? So the honoree for our Most Inclusive Climate Award is Orion Worldwide, and it is not the first time that they are being honored for this. And wow, it's a big crew that showed up to accept it today. I didn't realize that, there was like a changing, well, you made it back on a plane, and anyway. So anybody who knows Brian and the senior team there knows how seriously they take it and how much tone at the top there reflects that. And so we're just going to show a quick video to give you a taste of what Orion is all about, and then we're going to get them up here to accept an award.
Welcome to Orion. Diversity and inclusion has always been important here. From Orion's earliest days, this poster has hung on our walls as a reminder of our ethos, to treat one another like family. But like all families, we realized there were some conversations we were no longer having. Enter Cosmos,
an employee-led organization partnering with our senior leaders to make those conversations and changes possible. We needed to shift our culture to one that understands the importance of a diverse workforce. So we held training sessions and workshops to provide the tools to talk openly and truthfully, and just perhaps realize our own unconscious biases. We learned that we all have our own perspectives and opinions. Diversity is truly personal, and that should be celebrated. We revamped our strategies to attract multicultural talent, transforming how and where we recruit and target candidates.
Then we started leveraging our partnerships within our communities. And we saw results. In 2017, we had a 13% increase in hiring people of color.
Our CFI score ranked us first amongst all media brands agencies, demonstrating that Cosmos had pioneered new ways of thinking.
To maintain a culture of inclusion, we know now that it must stay intertwined in our day-to-day lives.
Diversity is beautiful, diversity is powerful.
Leandra, you're gonna be accepting, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leandra Cleveland, and on behalf of everyone at Orion, thank you so much for this award. Our motto at Orion has always been work hard and be kind, and in the last year, we've added to that through Cosmos with diversity is beautiful, diversity is powerful. That motto was born from a desire and a need for talent from all backgrounds, unique experiences, and with diverse ideas. Felicia and I have worked alongside our committee to empower our fellow Orionites to develop their talents, remove unconscious bias, and to expose opportunities within our business to individuals that are sometimes overlooked. Thank you, Brian and Greg, for helping us kickstart this initiative, and thank you to Tricia and the rest of our leadership team for your support as we continue to drive our important mission forward. Thank you, Michael Roth, Heida Gardner, and Philippe Krakowski, and IPG for leading the charge for diversity and inclusion in our industry. We all have a voice, and we should all feel empowered to use it, because you never know when the torch of change will be ignited. Thank you.
So our last award of the day is really anticlimactic. It's for holistic work across the D&I space. An agency has to show they've got senior executive-led strategic efforts that are thoughtful and that drive measurable results, and the same agency enters this category and wins it every year, kind of like Weber Shandwick with the PR Week Awards, because of their leaders' consistent commitments. So I want to keep urging IPG, the rest of IPG, to measure up. It's always really nice to hand the award to somebody who's flown in from Minneapolis. It would be nice to see more of our agencies measure up to the bar set by Carmichael Lynch. So let's take a look at the proof that they're really effective in driving change within that organization in a very challenging market.
An agency is its people, and these are ours. People who come to work every day from all over. To build brands, to build careers, and to build a culture here at Carmichael Lynch so that others, all others, can come and do the same. That's why we carve out space and time for our employees to get involved, to advocate, to listen, and to be heard. Like DIAL, our Diversity and Inclusion Action League. Like Blaze, to promote the retention and development of women at the agency. Like Cloud, to celebrate our LGBTQ community. Like Intermission, a chance to hear about our coworkers outside of work passions. We work with Brand Lab, an organization that introduces young people to our industry. And Groups for Parents, gatherings for families. Roof Stage Pass, a rooftop concert series that lets everyone simply come together. We believe the culture we foster at the agency helps us influence the culture outside our walls too, creating work that is inclusive and representative and positive. An agency is its people. And we've found that the best way to have the best people is to be welcoming to everyone.
I think Philippe called us anticlimactic. Affectionately, yes. We are unique in the fact that we have to overcome some barriers. Being headquartered in Minnesota, which is 80% white, we have 6% of persons of color that are in marketing. And so We are relentlessly intentional about diversity and inclusion. And we're trying a lot of things, as you saw in the video, and learning from each one of them. But what we have learned is that it's not only a top-down thing or incentives, as Michael said earlier. It's not that. It's our entire team at all levels asking for change and holding us accountable every day. And I have Ed Huerta Margada and Laura Norton here who do so much for us every day in terms of making it a part of our fabric of our culture, and not only talking about it, but doing something about it and making sure that we are changing behaviors so that people feel like they belong and they are having a real contribution to the work we're putting out in the world. You saw a few of those in the video as well. So a huge thank you to IPG for letting us win again. Thank you. And it gives, what's that? Right, it is the People's Choice Awards. So they had no choice, let's be honest. Yeah, setting the bar, please join us. And thank you so much for this. It just gives us more inspiration to do more, and hopefully we'll win again next year.
Oh, these are yours. I've got Julie's. Just a couple of, I think, items we wanted to cover before we close the program. Frank and Michael were both talking about kind of how important the work that the MERGE folks do, the executive sponsors of the BRG groups. There's just, such a large group of people. The comms group pitches in, obviously the global D&I group, which is putting on events all over the world, which is coming up with the kinds of ideas that lead to what have now become, really kind of tentpole events like what we're doing here today, like what we do at Cannes around the Women's Breakfast. And so there are a few pictures that we wanted to just run to acknowledge kind of this village of, people who raise their hand and help us move forward on this journey. I think there's one more picture which I need to say a few things about before. Oh, somebody stole my lines. There you are. We wanted to thank and celebrate and acknowledge and wish good, sort of Godspeed to somebody who's been a part of IPG for 20 years. So Angie Pawinski was actually an account exec at Averitt Free & Ginsberg for many years and helped lead IPG LBT, and then joined the D&I team, I'm trying to think, 3-4 years ago? Okay. So after 41 years in a business that we all know kind of can take it out of you, this is the last time we'll see her at these awards, although I'm sure that if she wants to come back, we will happily have her. And so we just wanted to say thank you and give you a big hand. I'm trying to figure out where she was. Oh, there she is. So the closing remarks are the bit where I go off script. Given everything that people have been talking about here, but also given what's going on in the world, I just wanted to kind of leave you all with some thoughts that I think are a bit more personal. These are pretty unusual and pretty difficult and maybe uncharted waters that we are going through. So if you're like me, you might start your day by checking the news. And older folks like I do actually read a paper, although I do check my device as well. And what's pretty disheartening is that we see when you look at the news these days, is kind of the opposite of what we've been talking about here in this room today. What you see again and again and again is exclusion, not inclusion. And what you see are kind of efforts to divide us, often by making those of us who are in some way different more vulnerable or more marginalized. And so once we've all done that and maybe had a cup of coffee and some breakfast, because we have responsibilities, we take that weight of what's going on out there and that anxiety that it brings, and we go to work. And now I want to be clear that I'm not suggesting in any way that I know what it's like for many among us who face the greatest systemic obstacles to equity and inclusion. I'm just suggesting that I think we're all on the same path. And so when you get to work, interestingly enough, what I hope is that the tenor changes. And so what I hope is that you get to an environment, as Emil said, where you're going to spend a lot of your day where you feel safer and where you feel more supported by your colleagues. Because that's the kind of company that, going back more than 10 years ago, Michael and Haida set us on the path to becoming. So there's this sort of rational thing that kicks in, right? And that's when we talk about the business case for inclusion. And we say, wow, it's a smart thing to do to do this. And that's when we say, hey, we get it, that diversity drives innovation and makes us more creative. And that's when we say, hey, we want to have a workforce that reflects the marketplace so that we can be more valuable partners to our clients. And it's during all of those hours that the kind of work that we are acknowledging today takes place, right? But then you go home and you're confronted with realities like keeping your kids safe, getting the right support for a loved one who's got a disability, worrying about, the immigration status of, a friend or a neighbor. And so what I think that we all then try to do, at least I know what I try to do, is you volunteer, you get involved in the community, you want to make things better. Maybe, if you're like me, you look to the election cycle and you say maybe that'll bring some sanity and some humanity to our public discourse. So what you're hoping is that some kind of normalcy comes back so we can keep making progress on these really important issues, not just as interpublic, but at a higher level. And the issues go super deep, right? So, evolution has wired us to be tribal, and history has always been about, nowhere, and I came from Mexico, so everywhere in the world, history is people keeping other people down, people keeping other people out. So across all of the case studies we've seen, whether it's sexual preference, gender identity, race, disability, all these things, the problems just are so complex, they go so deep. And so like any really big problem, the solutions are really layered. And so you gotta start by owning up to the problem. And then you gotta admit that you got a lot to learn, all of us, a lot to learn on, any number of fronts. Then you do what we've been doing for a while, and you put policies in place that get us to better outcomes, and then you sweat the daily building blocks of actually delivering on those promises. And so at IPG, we're on that path, and we've been on that path for a long time. But to my mind, given how much what's going on outside the world is something that we can't avoid, there are just two other things I think we need. And so particularly for the senior leaders in this room, but for all of us, the two things I would sort of say are commitment and urgency. And so every one of us needs to raise our personal level of commitment to DE&I. And all of us need to dial up our sense of urgency. So that's everybody's homework between now and when we get together next year, and give Julie and her team the same award again. So thank you all for coming, and I think that's the show.